saw that title and you still clicked on the video? Why do I find channels or like blogs and articles that say horrible things about my gender or my sexual orientation, like my identity, and think, oh yeah, let's read it, sounds fun. My self-esteem is already like pretty low, I don't need to do this to myself. But I can't help but laugh at some of the absolute clownery I find on the internet. Although oftentimes it's quite sad and makes me want to soak my eyes in bleach. That being said, today we're going to be reacting to a good old Christian blog. It's been brought to my attention, I've seen some YouTubers talk about it, and I've seen some of the articles myself, and regret doing so. So that I'll just join in, just have a little chat about it. It's a blog called Biblical Gender Roles, and it claims to help you find your purpose in life through your gender. And as you can see right up there, the two genders are mechanic and pancake maker. Duh. Right next to it's probably the weirdest kiss I've ever seen. Oh, and here's an interesting little writing called, Why Does the Bible Make Me Feel Worthless as a Woman? I don't know, maybe because it was written by a bunch of men like 3,500 years ago who believed that women were essentially their property. Just a guess. And disclaimer, I'm not trying to offend any religious people who are, watching this. I myself am trying to align with progressive Christianity, although it's been a bit of a struggle, but I'm trying to do it. I'm not trying to offend Christians, I'm trying to offend this specific man. So that being said, let's dive into this. Modern America teaches women that they should judge their own worth by how intelligent they are, how educated they are, how independent they are, and by how successful they are in their career. These new standards of a woman's worth are a radical shift from the standards by which women have historically judged their own worth. Consider the table below, which illustrates stark contrast between how women judge their own worth before the 1960s and the new standards after the 1960s. Then here it has that chart. It says pre-1960s, beauty, potential for having children, / age, health, submissiveness, cooking and cleaning and home skills, and now post-1960s, intelligence, education level, independence, career / income potential. The first observation is that before the 1960s, a woman's sense of self-worth was much tied to what she had to offer to a future or current husband. After the 1950s, women were taught to stop centering their sense of worth on what they had to offer a future or current husband and to concentrate more on what they wanted for themselves, regardless of how attractive or unattractive such pursuits or qualities made them to men. Yes, because your worth as a human being is not determined by your relationships with other people. You're your own person, and you shouldn't have to live prioritizing the way you please other people. Not saying that being a good partner or having, certain skills are worthless by any means, but they don't determine your worth, and neither does your income or your intelligence. If a person's worth is based on their intelligence, I'm screwed. Anyways, the second observation we can make from these two lists is that modern lists for what women are told should give them for their sense of worth is identical to what men historically have been told should give them their sense of worth. In other words, women today are told they must compare themselves to men to have any sense of worth. So for example, if a woman has a submissive spirit, that does not seem as quality adding to her worth, but rather one that takes away from her worth. If a woman does not speak her mind whenever she has a disagreement, but rather holds her tongue and shows deference to men, this quality is seen as not worthy one, but one that takes away from her worth. No, that's not true at all. Being submissive or quiet doesn't take away from your worth. Those are literally just character traits. I'm a generally submissive and quiet person in public settings. That doesn't make me worthless. Some people are more quiet and reserved, and others aren't. I just ask that you don't shame people for not being a certain way, or tell them that they need to be dominant or submissive because of their gender. And if a woman holds her tongue because she doesn't know to disrespect a man, that is kind of a toxic mindset to be in. She's allowed to disagree with someone, as long as she isn't wow, you're an idiot, here's what I think. She can voice her opinion. Nothing wrong with being a quiet person, but we shouldn't teach women that they need to, hold back their thoughts because they don't want to be impolite. And if a woman has no desire for higher education or career ambitions, but rather seeks to find a man and serve him by bearing his children and caring for his home, this woman is viewed today as the most worthless of all. Where are you researching this? Who are you talking to get this information? Because I'm part of progressive society, and never once have I heard anybody say that, stay-at-home moms are worthless. I've seen people talk trash about women who decide not to stay at home, but most feminists respect a woman's choice to do whatever she wants. That's kind of the whole point. For example, I see a lot of feminist posts on my Instagram account, and they're generally supportive of all different types of women. For example, there might be a post that says people shouldn't shame women who hook up. Most comments will be women sharing their stories of being slut-shamed or stuff like that. But if one girl says anything bad about women who don't hook up, then she has at least 50 people in her comment section, in her reply section saying hey, we don't do that here, every woman has a choice. They'll say, hey, this page is up for uplifting all women, no matter what side of the sexual spectrum they're on. You're just changing up our argument so it'll be easy for you to debunk. He then introduces us to a message he received from a woman who told him the Bible makes her feel worthless as a woman, which he blames on feminism for some reason. Yeah, the Bible just kind of makes me feel like worthless as a woman. I don't know. Is that weird? How so? Well, I've basically been told that as a woman I'm supposed to just shut up and submit and, be obedient. And then I'm essentially the property of my husband. I don't know, it just doesn't feel good. I see what you mean. Our modern society has taught you that you're independent, that you can accomplish whatever you want in life and be whatever you want, and that you can be happy on your own. And that you have the right to make your own decisions. That must make you feel awful. Well, no, that wasn't what I was. Yeah, the evils of feminism, am I right? As a new believer who is desperately trying to pull myself out of the pit of feminism, I find myself becoming depressed reading some of the articles and comments on biblicalgenderroles.com. I had bought into the lies about marriage being an equal partnership, the whole we are a team as opposed to the master/servant relationship it really is. Did she just describe marriage as being a master-servant relationship? Like, that's essentially what people like this think of it as, but they're not usually that direct about it. Most people try to sugarcoat it or say like, oh yeah, wives, you have to submit to your husbands, but don't worry, your husbands have to love you. Which is an argument that I've heard a lot, but doesn't make any sense. Like, what do you mean he has to love you? Like, doesn't the woman love her husband too, ideally? Loving your spouse should not be a chore. Like at this old church I used to go to, the pastor literally said like, yes ladies, you have to submit to your husbands, but don't worry because he has to love you. Like, yeah, no dip. So because somebody loves me, I should let them make all decisions in my life? That makes no sense. I completely understand that everything, including men and women, is made for God's pleasure. I struggle with the knowledge that everything I am is made for my husband's pleasure. Kind of makes me feel like worthless as a person. I feel like I'm not allowed to have my own tastes or preferences in anything. Should I even bother having an opinion, or should I ask my husband what my opinion is? It also kind of makes me feel like God hates women. After all, there are no women in heaven, and probably never will be. The Godhead is male, the angels are male, and from what I understand, there will be no marriage or children in heaven's eternity, so there will be no need for gender. The pastors I've talked to either tell me either, 1, all women will be turned into men at the final judgment, or 2, women have no souls, / no need for salvation, and when we die, we cease to exist like the animals. What? Okay, let's get this out of the way first. Yeah, no wonder you feel worthless as a person. If you believe that your entire existence on this earth is just for the main purpose of pleasing somebody else, that's, maybe that's why you have low self-esteem. If you only live for other people, then you're gonna be miserable. Be a little selfish, doesn't hurt. Now, what the heck? I grew up conservative Christian, and I'm trying to get back into it. Not the conservative part, like I want to be like progressive Christian. Although reading this garbage probably isn't helping. But it's entertaining. But I have never heard in all of those Sunday sermons that women either transition into men when they die, or that we just cease to exist because we have no souls. What? What kind of cult is this lady a part of? Because I want to check out their website. Watch it be like the Westboro Baptist Church or something. He goes on to say that women do have souls. At least he believes that, I guess. That she shouldn't be measuring her worth by society standards, but by Bible standards. Which she literally said makes her feel worthless. What is this man on? I want to message him and just ask him what church he goes to, because I would love to attend a sermon and just observe this madness. I probably shouldn't go there dressed like this. Might get kicked out. I opened my mouth once and they burned me at the stake or something. That's what's gonna happen. Okay, so I gotta warn you, this next one is just the worst thing ever. In July of this year, he posted a 7-step guide to grooming your young Christian wife. Yes, he literally titled that and then read it and didn't see a problem there. Emphasis on the young wife part. He seems to be an advocate for marrying women who are significantly younger than you so they're easier to manipulate. Well, not he seems to be, he literally is. He wrote an entire article once about why women should get married as soon as they hit puberty or something. I'm 15, so I'm well past puberty, but I don't want to get married. No thank you, and certainly not to this piece of garbage. This dude just really wants to marry a 12-year-old, I feel like. He's trying to say oh well, women got married at age 12 in the Bible, so why shouldn't they now? No dude, you're just a pedophile. Or you're attracted to people who look physically mature but are still, mentally not quite developed yet, so they're easier to control. Either way, you're a piece of crap and I really wish you weren't on the internet. I've read your site for some time, but this is my first time writing you. My wife and I have been married for a year. She's 18 and I'm 24. Now I'm trying to get my wife to follow her role, and I begin to assume my role as a leader. I'm 6 years older than her, but that just seems to make it worse. She keeps saying, "You're not my father." She's raised in a strict family, and I guess she thinks that now she's married, she's free from all authority. I recently put both of us on a budget. I've created a budget and I keep my side, but she keeps overspending on hers. I read your article on 7 ways to discipline your wife, and you recommend taking away her debit card. I know I could do this, but in my view, that should be the last option. I'm considering starting to spank her. I mentioned it to her, but not on the budget, but in general, and she is against it. She thinks spanking is treating her like a child. Holy crap, what the heck? Okay, dude, you seem to be in a very dysfunctional relationship. I mean, you suck, and you're kind of causing the dysfunction a little bit. Although your wife might have some problems with, like, financials and everything, and money managing as well. But the fact that she's 18 and, like, already married, and you're 24... Like, I'm not against age gap, like, relationships by any means, because, once you reach a certain age, your mind is, fully developed, and you're a consenting adult, and I understand that. But when somebody is 18, they are, like, fresh out of high school, their mind is not developed yet, because your mind doesn't stop developing until you're 20 to 25, so she's still got a lot of maturing to do, and you're nearly done with your maturing. That's what concerns me here. And by the way she says, "You are not my father," it seems like you're trying to assume, like, a position of authority over her, and she's not comfortable with that. Or she's being controlled in an unhealthy way. Also, the fact that you unironically read this man's content and are asking him for relationship advice already shows that you're definitely assuming a really unhealthy role in your marriage. But if you and your wife are having financial problems, communicate with her about them. Don't make it you telling her what she can and can't buy, like you're her parent or something. She probably sees it as you just trying to be controlling, because you obviously are, and she wants to rebel against that sense of authority over her. You are not her authority, you're her partner. Work through it with her. And also, hitting her? First of all, you do not have the right to put your hands on somebody, ever, unless it's like self-defense. It's not discipline, it's you being mad and wanting to take out your anger on them. When you hit somebody, you're not thinking like, oh, if I smack them, then maybe their behavior will magically change. No, you're just mad at them and you want to release your anger. That's all it really is. And that includes your children. Don't freaking put your hands on them. It doesn't fix their behavior, it just teaches them to fear you and hide things from you. Just don't hit people. Just don't. Please. Merriam-Webster's online dictionary defines the verb definition of groom as to clean and maintain the appearance of an animal, to make neat or attractive, to get into readiness for a specific objective. And this fits with the traditional understanding of this word. But humanists see grooming as one person conditioning another person to allow someone else to abuse them. The term is often associated with pedophiles preying on children, sex traffickers conditioning women for prostitution, or husbands conditioning their wives to allow them to abuse them. According to secularhumanism.org, a core tenet of humanism is the freeing of the individual from traditional controls by family, church, and state, increasingly empowering each of us to set the terms of his or her own life. This is why the concept of one person exerting control over another is heresy to humanists, while conversely, consent is sacred. I don't know if consent is like sacred by any means, it's just an obligation. You have to have consent in a relationship. That's just basic knowledge. But probably not to this guy. He probably thinks that once you're married, consent is automatically given no matter when or what or whatever. Which is not true, of course. Both parties still have to consent to anything after marriage. Same rules still apply. So here's a Bible verse, and below it says, Christ did not give up his life for his wife's happiness. He gave up his life to purchase his wife, Acts 20:28, so that he could groom her into the wife he wanted her to be. And that is what God calls you as a Christian husband to do. In 1 Corinthians 11:7, the Bible tells us that the woman is the glory of the man. And in Proverbs 12:4, we read, a virtuous woman is a crown to her husband. And in 1 Corinthians 11:9, the Bible says, neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. These scriptures teach that God created your wife for you, to bring glory to you, and when your wife brings you glory, this brings glory to God. So you as a man bring glory to God by your submission and service to him, and your wife brings glory to God by her submission and service to you. Jesus had a wife? I do not remember hearing that in Sunday school. Then again, I don't remember most things from Sunday school. Okay, so far we've learned that Jesus had a wife, apparently. I don't think he did, or am I just stupid, or what? Men are supposed to mold their wives into the women that they want them to be. Because they prefer to change the personality of somebody else instead of just finding someone that they actually like. And also, all women are created for men. Great, love that. What this means, practically speaking, is that you need to begin to mold your wife to your preferences for her behavior. You should never feel guilty in desiring your wife's submission and service to you, but rather you should enjoy this as God enjoys your submission and service to Him. So what are some practical ways that you can groom your wife into the glorious wife you want her to be? You can make her modify your clothing styles to the styles you prefer. You can make her learn to cook the foods you enjoy. You can make her watch TV shows that you like to watch. And in Proverbs 5:18-19, we read one of the greatest ways a husband is actually commanded to groom his wife. Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Let her be as loving hind and pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love. While husbands are commanded not to deny sexual relations with their wives in Exodus 21:10-11 and 1 Corinthians 7:3-5, the Bible never commands wives to make their husbands satisfy them sexually. It does, however, command men to do just that in the passage above. A Christian wife's grooming, her God-ordained subject to her husband, is never complete until she has been groomed to be loving, pleasant, and completely sexually satisfying to her husband. Well, if that isn't just the worst thing ever. Yeah, you should do things that your partner enjoys because you want to compromise with them and make them happy. Show interest in the things that your partner likes, and they should do the same for you. But you don't just get to pick a personality for them. You can't tell them what to wear and how to act and what to eat and stuff like that. Like they're some sort of doll or something. You're supposed to date someone that you already like, not make them into somebody that you like. And I love how he's like, oh, don't worry guys, you don't have to make sure that your wife enjoys intimacy also. We don't care about her needs and desires. She's here for you. This dude should just put a robot in a dress and marry that. Because that's obviously all he wants. He then talks about how Christ speaks to the church and how Christ disciplines the church when they sin. And he says that there are many ways to discipline your wife. 10 years ago, I would have been against wife spankings as the concept was so foreign to me. I did not know any Christians who engaged in it. But since I started this blog back in 2014, I have had the opportunity to interact with many Christian couples who engage in wife spanking, which is commonly referred to as Christian domestic discipline, or CDD for short. I also have the opportunity to interact with some Christian husband/wife mentor teams who help teach the husband how to spank their wives and also teach the wives how to accept and embrace this kind of physical discipline from their husbands. I really wish I could drink. Whenever I speak on wife spanking, I must issue the following cautionary note. While it is the husband's God-given right to use spanking as a form of discipline on his wife, with or without her consent, okay, that's just straight up abuse. You can't do anything to your partner without their consent. That's how relationships work. Why doesn't he understand that? I mean, even if you groomed her and manipulated her into thinking that it was okay for you to hit her and that she deserved to be hit, that still would be a form of abuse. That's still not consent because you're manipulating her. A husband should be wise in regard to the hostile culture we live in. We live in a culture which denies almost all of the rights that God has given to the husband, including his right to discipline his wife. That means that if you do not have your wife's consent to spank her and she calls the police on you, you might go to jail for domestic abuse. Ugh, what an awful world we live in. Where if you physically assault your wife, you'll get in trouble? What are you trying to do, hold me accountable for my actions? Our culture has gone too far. Some of the women who have contacted me over the years were raised in homes where their father spanked their mother, and they expected it and even embraced it, the concept, when they entered their marriages. Others learned the benefits of CDD for their marriage from other wives and embraced this practice later in life. But then there are wives who are conditioned to accept and receive spankings from their husband throughout mentoring programs. What the heck? There are programs where the husband and wife work together with a husband/wife mentoring team, and over time, the couple learns how to incorporate wife spankings into their marriage. One of the most important things I've learned from these wife spanking mentoring couples is it's very difficult and rare to get a wife to accept spanking if she is past her mid-20s and especially into her 30s. So it's important to reach women in these mentoring programs while they're still young and moldable. That's a lot to take in. I can't handle that much bullcrap all at once. So basically what he's saying is that some women see their father hit their mother growing up, and so they just expect it, they think it's normal. So that when they go into their marriages, they expect to be hit by their husband. Sounds kind of like, I don't know, the freaking cycle of domestic abuse. Believing that you deserve the treatment and it's fine because you grew up seeing it happen to your family. But then there's those women, those difficult women who have to be, manipulated into it a little bit, before they fully accept the concept of being abused. Because they, understand the concept that people don't have the right to put their hands on you unless it's self-defense. But don't worry, all it takes is a little bit of brainwashing over time and they'll be fine. Damage their self-esteem a bit, make them feel lesser than you, so that eventually they'll just accept that type of toxic behavior. But you'll want to marry young, though. Make sure they're still, like, mentally immature, like, but still legal, of course, but just a bit mentally immature so they're easy to control and manipulate. My gosh, how can somebody be this much of a piece of trash and not notice it? I just don't get it. He then goes on to say that he doesn't spank his wife because, unfortunately, she's too old to manipulate and physically abuse, and she still has a tiny bit of feminist in her. Not a lot, obviously, because she's married to this piece of crap. So that's all we're going to be reading today, because the rest of it's basically just him, like, giving us non-physical ways to discipline our wives. Treating her like a child, essentially. But again, don't hit your kids. Just don't do it. Please. But I just have one question. Like, who married this man, and how severe is the Stockholm Syndrome? Like, it's pretty bad, isn't it? Like, it's bad. Anyway, thank you for watching if you got this far. Don't worry, I hated it just as much as you do. This was awful, and I'm sorry I put you through this. But I'm a commentary channel, so this is the kind of crap you're gonna be seeing a lot. As always, please comment down below some video suggestions. You know, more things I can torment myself with in the future. And I will see you guys next time. Stay safe, y'all.